probably isn't what you're expecting me to say. Buying a new keyboard won't make you play better. The reason I start with this statement is because the majority of comments I hear about buying a new keyboard is because our keyboard at the church isn't good enough or it's too old and needs to be updated. Okay, not to ruffle any feathers, but I played the same keyboard for 24 years. I had it from the time I started seriously playing in church until I was 39, okay? We can chalk part of that up to being a creature of habit and a major if it ain't broke, don't fix it personality. I get it. But the principle is this. The reason I wasn't always pining after a new keyboard is because I was focused on doing things to make my playing better. That's what I mean when I say a piano won't make you play better. The real secret is you have to practice. If you're depending on a keyboard to make you sound better, that won't cut it. Let's get down to the real nitty-gritty and talk about ways to make your playing better. Stop trying to be an overachiever, okay? This is the first thing. Let's face it, comparison will get you nowhere. In fact, it's a quick way to get discouraged. So put on the blinders and start working on making your playing better. Playing songs you already know in different keys. Put a chord that you've learned, a new chord, in every song you know, or play in a key that scares you. Practice more. I'm not talking about an hour a day. You'll be surprised at how 15 minutes will give your playing a little boost, okay? And the next thing is don't quit. Every time you stop, you get rusty. Then when you pick your playing back up, it's like you're starting over. Find a routine that works for you and stick with it. And on weeks or days that you fall off the bandwagon, we all do, don't be discouraged. Jump back on the next day or the next week. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Now I'll get back to keyboards. Here's how you know if it's time to buy a new keyboard. I know this is what you're waiting for, okay? Number one, you don't have a keyboard. Number two, the keyboard you have is broken or unfixable. Or number three, it has old technology that won't work with your computer. Now, this was my reason. I will give you tips at the end if you are a new keyboard player and you are just needing a keyboard to practice it all. Stay tuned. I'm going to give you tips. They're going to be a little different, okay? So if you are super techie or good at searching on YouTube, you can find ways to download new sounds for your keyboard. I'm not the expert on that, but that will help you guys who already have keyboards. So we finally bought a new keyboard for our church, and here's why. For the 5 years I had been there, the keyboard would detune itself in the middle of playing. It happened during worship service, while playing background music, and during altar call. It was so embarrassing. I had people looking at me. It would also randomly play a key very loud on its own when no one was touching it. I had taken it to get fixed about 3 times and no one could find or even replicate the problem. So crazy. I knew the people that I was taking the keyboard to thought I was crazy too. So what's a girl to do? I started searching for a new keyboard that would fit the needs of our church. Now, when you are looking for a keyboard, it's important to remember, do not overbuy. A keyboard workstation is going to be a state-of-the-art piece of equipment and probably the most money you can spend. It also has a lot of features you probably won't use. I have been to many churches that have, for example, a Korg workstation, but they only use it to play the piano for the keyboard sound. So decide what you need. Most church keyboard players will need a keyboard with a good piano sound, a sustain pedal port that plugs in the back, not a button. I didn't even know that was a thing until recently. And then a strings or pad sound that they can layer. Sometimes it's called piano with strings, and also weighted keys. I'll talk more about that in a minute. So do your research, ask other musicians what keyboard they're using, look up keyboard recommendations on YouTube, shop around on the internet for the best price, okay? So me personally, I knew I wanted to go with a Nord brand. I liked their sounds. I liked the ability to update and load sounds and how user-friendly the keyboard was. And most churches I had seen had the Nord 3, which was super cool, but it had a lot of features I doubt most people use. Let me know in the comments if you do. Since Nord has several different options, I had to figure out what was going to work best for us. So while you want a keyboard that has weighted keys, do you know there are different types of weighted keys? Oh my goodness, so much to decide on. I've seen a lot of musicians I admire using Nords, and I was like, man, they play so amazing. And like those one finger runs are just like going up and down the keyboard, and it definitely sounded better than my old tinny keyboard. They were playing circles around me when it came to those runs, okay? It took me a while to realize that some of these musicians were not playing on fully weighted keys. Can you believe that? Which made playing these runs a lot easier. I've always been staunch on playing with fully weighted keys. I'm a by-the-book girl, but I also struggled with playing these fills without making mistakes. So this is just an observation of mine, but I think that switching to semi-weighted keys is what made the difference for me. Okay, although I'm sure there's some piano maestro out there who can play anything they want on the weighted keys of a grand piano. That is not me. So after a few weeks of research, I decided that our church needed a Nord Piano 4. It has a great piano sound and Rhodes sound, also has the ability to layer strings or pads. And since we had already built a relationship with our local guitar center, we were able to get a good price. So that is a free tip. Build relationships with your music shops. Okay, now it was time to buy a keyboard for my home office. So since I run an online piano business, you guys know that, that's why you're here, I was needing a new keyboard that I could hook up to my computer. And you can imagine, my keyboard that was purchased in 1998 was not cutting it. I really had frustrated myself trying to make it work with technology. For months, I spent hours trying to figure it out. I was already sold on the Nord brand, but even Nord has many options, like I said before. So what I settled on was the Nord Electro D because I needed a good piano sound, pads, and strings to layer, and I also wanted to be able to practice the organ at home, and this keyboard included drawbars. So you could also purchase a Leslie switch and foot pedals with this keyboard. The downside is that this keyboard is 73 keys instead of 88. I have missed the extra keys, and I found myself trying to play keys that weren't there at first. Overall, I'm happy with the Nord Electro 60 keyboard. I said all that to say, when you know exactly what you need, then you buy what you need instead of what you don't need, okay? If you don't have a keyboard or are new to playing, you may consider not buying something new. There are many keyboard options available on Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp. Purchasing an interim keyboard will allow you to get the feel of playing and also give you the experience to know exactly what you want to invest in. Keyboards can be expensive and they are an investment, so think of it that way. Here are the features you absolutely have to have, okay? No budging. A good piano sound, a sustain pedal port that plugs in the back of the keyboard, not a button, and a piano with string sound. This helps you learn not to overplay, especially if you're just starting out, okay? Weighted keys are optional if you can afford it. So while a new keyboard is nice, the time you put into practicing is going to make the difference in how you sound. I hope having a decent keyboard will give you the inspiration you need, okay? So I hope this helps you when you're looking to purchase a new keyboard, and I'd love to know which one you choose.